Howdy folks. So I wanted to talk about a headphone that caught me by surprise and shocked me and made me rethink all my life choices, and that's a lot of hyperbole. These are the TSMR, that's Tansio Mirai. I probably said that wrong, but they are the Tansio Mirai 4 Pro. Let's see if I can get the logo there. They have 4 balanced armatures, which is not a lot. They are $320. They have dip switches, which has 3 dip switches and 6 sound signatures. And they do take a 2-pin connector. They are not vented. And I'm using some complies that I cut the tip off of so they don't fold over in my ear. I'll just say right now, these are absolutely fantastic. I'm going to wreck these immediately. Within 5 seconds of sticking them in my ear, I knew they were special. I'll just say that. They're really, really good. For the $320, they are a huge wreck. Absolutely just knock it out of the park. Let me take out another headphone here so you can kind of see the size difference here. So this is the BGVP DM7. And let's see if I can give you a side view. Let's see. That should show you a lot. I have no idea how they managed to pack all those BAs. Well, it's only 4, but they really made this a compact, the Tansio Mirai compact comparatively. They have a nice flat sort of shell there, which when they go in, well, at least my ears, they don't look stupid. I don't look like Dumbo. I look dignified. So, yeah, they're very small, and some of the smaller acrylic or resin headphones I've ever seen or tried. So that's a win immediately. Can't really understate, or you can't really put enough value on fit for headphones, because nothing will make someone get rid of something faster than it's not fitting, making your ears unhappy. So, why would these be so special? Well, I'll tell you. When I was testing a bunch of headphones, including these, I was monitoring my music on my studio monitors, which are right over here. Whoa, hello. Just zoom out right there. Yeah. We got you guys, JBLs, and then down here on the floor, just kind of tip you over. You can see him over here. That is a 12-inch studio sub, which is, let's see, more like that. It's sealed, and it's like, it's studio flat. It's not a hype thing. Okay, so why I like these is because I was monitoring music on my studio monitors to give myself a reference point, and I put these in, and I thought at first, just for 5 seconds or so, that they weren't turned on, and they were. And that means that the tonality, the timbre, the accuracy is just amazing. So I didn't change the dip switches immediately, and the way that they came was, let's see if I have that. Yeah, it's 1 up, 2 down, 3 down. I didn't actually mark down all of my impressions of all the dip switches, but let's just say in this mode, the 1 up, 2 down, 3 down, they sound fantastic. And then the other, as you change, like, it's not just like bass up, mids up, treble up at all. They don't react like that. Each variation in the switches, each combo will give you kind of like a different tonality, but it's not just, like I said, bass up, treble up, mids up. So these sound like studio monitors. The tonality is dead on. And being, you know, the name 4, well, TSMR 4 Pro, I'm assuming the Pro means they are for pros, which is to say people that mix things, probably, maybe stage monitoring, things like that. And yeah, they're accurate, and they do that well. Let's just go over some of my metrics on my graph here. So go up here to the zoom out of here. A little more. Oh, that's a lot of data. More data. Okay. So, let's go over each of my metric points. Again, TSMR for Pro, they are $320. Starting with timber, I'm going to give them an 8 out of 10, which is to say that the timber is nearly perfect. I think they could possibly be a hair warm, but it's in no way offensive, and the only thing that really ever does is make things just a little more fun. It gives a little more weight to vocals and notes and things. And also the switches, I think you can tune that down a bit if you want to. So we'll give it an 8 in timbre, which is to say that's great, that's excellent. Coherency, I'm going to give it an 8. The 4 balanced armatures seamlessly blend together to give you a full soundscape, not unlike a dynamic driver, which I would rate always, I mean, well, unless you totally screwed up a dynamic driver, they should have near perfect coherency because there's only one driver. So I'm going to give these an 8, which is to say excellent. Accuracy and color of sound, I'm going to give these a 9, which is to say they are freaking accurate. They sound just like studio monitors. Everything is just right. The bass is not hyped. The mids aren't hyped. The treble's not hyped. It's got perfect detail, extended detail. Just wonderful. Is there any magic or special factor on these guys? And I'm going to give that an 8, which is to say excellent. I love them. I love them, actually. I think that for most people, when they would shove these in their ears, they would actually hear that magic as well. Sort of, you know, it's hard to put into words, but immediately you get your toes tapping, your head nodding, and you're just like, yep, this is sounding great. And I should mention I had my 20-year-old kid, who probably has better ears than me, check this particular headphone out against everything else I own, and he loves these. He said they're the most accurate, the best detail, you know, everything, just the best. So he loves these, and I agree. They're phenomenal. Stage depth, we're going to give a 8. It's great. It's just great. You have a wonderful 3D stage in all directions, back, forward, up, down, left, right, reverse. Stage wideness, we're going to give that a 9. It is very nicely wide. Yeah, details pop in from way outside the head range. You can hear depth. You can hear stuff below you. What else? Okay, so let's compare this to like my other favorite set, the EJ07, in terms of stage wideness. I think most people would hear the TSMR 4 Pro as being wider. The reason being that it does in fact have a little bit of hyped micro detail treble. I know it's not accurate because I've listened to mixes versus studio monitors on these, but it is not in any way a problem. It just has a little bit of extra sort of flair in the treble. It's not harsh. You can turn the volume up extremely loud and it won't do anything to anything. So yeah, just fantastical. So we have a nice wide stage. We're going to give that a 9. So then we go on to the imaging. We're going to give it an 8, which is to say it's just excellent. You can pinpoint things in 3 dimensions, no problem. Stuff panned left, right. Yep, it's just where it should be. Vocals right up to center. What am I trying to say? It's dead obvious. Things are easy to pick out. So excellent imaging. These are not vented, and I don't give them any points for pressure relief, which is sad because I'm guessing that if I were to hike with them, I would have some issues with that. But I would deal with it because they're so good. And also the form factor is such that they should work for just about any type of situation. In fact, if you were to go to bed with them, they're just so flat they won't poke in your ears, I don't think. Okay, moving on. Isolation, we're going to give it a 7, which is to say quite excellent. They are, there's no vents, they're completely filled, and they do block sound. I suppose if you get some good foam tips, you're going to have a good isolating experience. Okay, bass. We're going to give the bass on these a 7. Now, why a 7? That's on my scale, a 7 is like, that's great, but it's obviously not a 10. And the only reason is really because, yeah, dynamic drivers really do a better job with low-end, tactile, air hitting your ears bass. They just do. But, and here's the big but, these guys have the nulls, I think just one maybe per headphone. It's the 22955. Like the venerable, bass armature in just about everything. They did it really, really good on this. Like, geez, you'd think maybe there was a dynamic driver in here. I swear, you really would. It's extended extremely well. You get a lot of tactile sub-bass resonance for a balanced armature. It's like, basically, it's as good as I've ever heard for a balanced armature in terms of bass extension. So, and texture. I was extremely happy with it. But again, a dynamic driver is going to take that up a few notches. So we'll give that a 7. Next, we got the richness of mids and the texture, and that's easily a 9. The mids on these is one of their strong points easily. It's coming from studio monitors, that's like so important. Humans are most sensitive, and I looked this up. I could pull up the Wikipedia page, but it's between, we'll say, 1,000 and 4,000 hertz. It's probably like 2,000 to 4,000, but that's like the peak range where any kind of information in that range is going to sound loud, shall we say. Because human ears are tuned to hear vocals, to hear voices, and they are smack right in that range. Yeah, this gets a 9. It's just about as good as it'll ever get on anything, in my opinion. So, yeah, mids. Love them. Treble detail, we're going to give that an 8. It is actually just wonderful. If you're the kind of person that likes OCD details, sort of those little micro things flying at you in your music, these do that actually really well. And I'm going to say that I think probably for most people, these will do it better than the EJ07 because they use the balanced armatures, which have a certain tonality in the treble that I think people are getting used to. And, I could call it peaky. I'm not going to go that far. But I think for most people that are used to high-end, top-of-the-line sets, the treble is going to be like just great, just fantastic. And for me too. I love it a lot. Is it as good, say, as an electrostatic driver? And the answer would be, I think not quite as good, but I'm only talking about sort of things that would be hard to measure. So the 3D-ness of the stage, the treble sort of resolution, I believe, is a little higher on the ESTs than a balanced armature. That's what I hear. Anyway, so treble is going to definitely get a good solid 8. And then we're moving on to resolution, and I'm going to give that a 8. I would hear a electrostatic as being better than that, so maybe a 9 or 10, but we're going to give that an 8, which is to say great. Binaural quality, I'm going to give it a 6. So that little bit of extra treble detail, when you're listening to binaural stuff, it ends up making it sound just a little wrong, just a little bit. So, a 5 would be average, 6 is a little better than average. It ain't anamorphic at a 10, but it's not bad, so 6. No special features. I could say that they're small and light, but yeah, whatever. That's not really legitimate. So the total score of the TSMR 4 Pro is going to be 106 out of 118. And if I look at my chart here, that would be the third most highest rated headphone. The Etymotic ER2XR actually did rate higher for a number of reasons, but I like the TSMR 4 Pro more. I can't get the Etymotics to fit without bludgeoning my ears to death. It's just the way it is. So even though they do rate well, they have some problems. However, the TSMR doesn't have any of that sort of stuff going on. These are very, very comfortable to use. I think that even though the automatic rate's slightly higher, that I do in fact like the TSMR 4 Pro. And then you might say, well, why don't you rate the fit? And the answer is everybody's got different ears. I can't possibly give that a number. It's just one of those things. So highly rec. Anybody that's around someone where they could test these, you need to test these immediately. I would love to hear some feedback. There's really not a lot of reviews about these out there at all. It's like, I'm trying to think, did I even find a graph? Maybe not. But my ears tell me. They are awesome. Absolutely awesome. For $320, I think that's going to be my rec under 500 is these. Yeah, they're just phenomenal, man. Just phenomenal. I guess I didn't mention this, but the build quality of these is second to none. There is no flaws. Everything is exactly where it should be. Both IEMs are very symmetrical in terms of how they were built, which doesn't matter, but I like it. Let me just pull this off so you can see the bore. I should have mentioned this immediately. The bores are a bit thick on these. They're definitely... they're not too thick. They're smaller than Moondrop, but that could be a thing for some people. I mean, I certainly prefer thinner bores if I can manage it. But I guess the upside is that you can fit a lot of different tips on these, no problem. And these are just comply to, I think they're small T600s, in case you care. And as you can see, you definitely don't want to block any of those sound tubes. That's a bad. So, all right, folks, get these, get them fast. There are some, I think these are last year's model, possibly, because they have a TSMR 5 now, maybe a 5 Pro. I can't speak to those, I have no idea. But given that Tansio Mirai tuned these like they did, I have a very, very high degree of confidence that they know what they're doing, and anything they make is probably going to be extremely good. So this brand is something to look out for. All right. Have a good one, folks. Later.